Right, so this is the part of the semester where I always intentionally start playing with my practice a little bit, right?
I love that.
Welcome to Hallway Conversations. We are a group of educators who have plenty of questions about teaching and learning and school culture, and we believe in the value of reflection and collaboration as we seek to keep growing as teachers. This podcast is our place for thinking out loud together about issues in education and why they might matter to Christian educators. We're glad you're with us. Welcome to the conversation. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hallway Conversations. My name is Dave Mulder.
And I'm Abby DeGroat.
Thanks for joining us in the hallway for another conversation.
You may notice today that we are missing a voice. The three of us, Matt, Dave, and I, have said all along that this podcast is a project that we are in together, season by season. And Matt is in a season right now where his attention is occupied by other things. So Dave and I will miss his presence on the podcast this season.
For sure.
For sure. But we both decided that we'd like to keep producing episodes.
Yes.
So this is our first attempt at seeing what happens when it's the two of us talking here in the hallway.
Yeah, this is going to be new and different and so weird, right?
Yeah.
Well, this goes back to the very beginning of it. Like Matt and I at the beginning, way back in 2021, when we started this, it was just the two of us. And back in those days, we would just like spring an episode on each other. We didn't do any planning ahead, which was so weird.
And we're still kind of not planning a ton.
Right.
So we want it to be authentic conversations.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing today. But we did come up with a topic of discussion for today.
Right.
And it is October 14 here, so middle of our semester.
Right.
Here at Dort, almost exactly the middle.
Yeah,
we're getting
real
close to the midterm here. And we've just noticed that our classes can sometimes get stale.
Yeah.
Students are tired. They're in the midst of busy schedules, athletic schedules, extracurriculars. It's Defender Days this weekend. There's a lot going on. There's a play. There's musical events.
Right.
And so we're thinking about how to respond to that appropriately and also to make sure that our classes are still interesting and energizing for them and not a drag, and how to deal with behaviors that may come up when things are hard and long.
I suspect our listeners who are teaching in K-12 schools probably relate to that.
Yes.
The honeymoon is over to some degree at this point of the year, right? We're kind of into the slog where it sometimes feels harder.
Yeah. My kids' quarter is over, next week.
Yeah, parent-teacher
conferences are coming.
Yeah.
And so I think they're feeling that a little bit too. I have a freshman this year.
How has that been?
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It is so interesting.
I'm sure. Well, being that you taught high school for so long to have a high schooler now.
Yeah. And at the place where I had to drop off some food for her volleyball team yesterday before they went to the game, and I was there with all of my old colleagues.
Oh, yeah.
And it was 8th period, so they were all milling around, and she's there, and she sometimes feels like everyone knows her because of me.
Well, fair, right?
Yeah,
like
but it was so fun. It was so fun for me to see her there and with those people that I had so much fun working with.
For sure.
So
that's great.
Yeah. So, Dave, what do you have for, as your class kind of gets into the middle of the semester, as things get long or hard, what are some things that you try to incorporate into your college classes?
I love that you asked that question. Yeah. So, I have a reputation for coming at things a little bit out of left field or a little sideways, right? So this is the part of the semester where I always intentionally start playing with my practice a little bit, right?
I love that.
I'll start bringing in protocol. I use protocols all the time.
Yeah, I do
different
too.
ones, right? And for those, if you're not familiar with the idea of protocols, like just in science, we talk about a protocol in the lab, like here's the pattern that we're going to follow so we can try to get particular results, right? And the same idea, if you've got a discussion protocol, well, it's the pattern you're going to follow to try to guide the discussion. If you've got protocols for how you're going to have students hand in their work, right? Like we've got all kinds of protocols, right? Well, one of the protocols that I really like is the AAA protocol.
I like that one too.
And if you're not familiar, friends, for this one, the AAA, it's 3 words that start with A. You give students something that they're going to have to respond to. So it's got to be a reading or a video clip or something that might be a little provocative. And then the question is, when you watch this or when you read this, what do you agree with? Or what do you want to argue with? Or what does this make you want to aspire to? Right? So agree, argue, aspire.
And I have found that college students sometimes are reluctant to argue with the text.
Oh, very much so.
So I always give them a back door with a question.
Sure.
But sometimes you want to encourage them to argue.
Well, and I say this, so I'm teaching one of our core capstone courses here, right? It's all about technology and identity and community. What is technology doing to us? And we recently read a really challenging book. What they find a very challenging book. It's called Technopoly. It's an old book by Neil Postman, right? Yep. Great book, but I don't agree with him on all of his points. And it's really interesting because I think Postman, he wrote it in the early 90s. It is an old book, but he forecast from 30 years out where our culture would land. And
that's so interesting. It would be really, I read it in grad school, so it's, I mean, that's a good 10, 15 years ago.
Right. And for the students reading it today, they are kind of blown away by how accurate he was at predicting.
Kind of like Fahrenheit 451.
Yeah. Yes. Very much in that same kind of sense. But this one, it's nonfiction, right? And the way he's like laying this out. But I don't agree with everything he says, and partly it's because, I mean, he's Postman's Jewish, but he's non-practicing, and the way that he describes things, it kind of reads as like, but America's a pretty great nation, and we should, lean into this America, like that's what unifies us as Americans, like America's great. And the students, too, when they're reading this, they're like, but that doesn't sound very, like, I feel like there's a better answer than that. I'm like, thank you. Yes, there is a better answer than that. There is, actually,
right? Now that you brought it up.
Right? And so then to encourage them as we read a challenging section of it, so let's use AAA then to analyze this. And suddenly we're having a much richer, more productive conversation that we probably wouldn't have otherwise had. But I can't use that same protocol all the time, so I know we're going to get to this point in the semester, so this is when I pull it out and start using that one.
Right. So a little bit of novelty.
Yeah, right. And working something, we had some really nice weather here in the end of September, beginning of October, so I have a protocol I use called walkie-talkie. And you can do this with college students. You'd have to really trust your I would do this with middle schoolers, but you have to really try. I wouldn't do it with every group of middle schoolers. So I give them something specific to talk about, like something from the reading. They have a reading guide, and I say, talk about question 3 on the reading guide, go take a 7-minute walk, and be back here at... give them a specific time.
I love it.
And then send them out. And it's a nice day outside, so they all go for a walk around campus for 7 minutes, and then they come back. They've had a rich conversation. They got some sunshine, moved their body a little bit, and suddenly everything's clicking when they come back in the classroom.
Yep. I used a protocol I hadn't pulled out in a long time either, called Conversations in my room. Yeah, so that was probably a couple weeks ago already. And I had kind of, how you use a protocol and it doesn't go well like one time, and then you kind of like shelf it out of like as a
a protection mechanism here. Right?
And so I had that experience with it. It hadn't gone well one time I did it, and I tweaked a couple of things, and I thought, I'm going to try this again. And I did it again a couple of weeks ago, and it went awesome.
Oh, nice.
I know, which is always a nice...
to try it again and to look back and find success.
So I do a lot of same thing. They've read something, they've responded to it when they come to class, but I want them to then have a further conversation with each other about kind of a new aspect that I hadn't already asked them in their admit slip or other issue. I want them to bring their practicum into it and things like that. So they're all at initial table groups, and I put up 3 questions, or I put up one actually. I put up one question that they have to respond to, and I give them a study or a guide, and they have to jot their answers down that they talked to with their group. And then 2 of the group members get up. I give them numbers. 2 of the group members get up, and they have to find a different table of, it's kind of like
Go-Go-Mo or...
Yeah, it's, what am I thinking? Musical chairs, right? So everybody has to get up. 2 people have to get up. You have to find a different table, and it can't be with the person who also left your table. And so you have to find a new seat that's empty.
Nice.
And then the next time, so we do it again, they have to share what their table talked about and then respond to a new question, jot some notes down, and then the other 2 people, then the first 2 that moved, get up and have to go find a new...
Oh, that's great. So they're constantly mixing the group. It's
constantly mixing the group so they don't get stale. It incorporates movement. It gets them walking around, and then they're sharing what their group said with the new group and responding to a new thing. And it's like a round of 4.
Yeah. I like that so much, though, because this is one of those things like we expect, like, young kids need to get up and move, but everyone needs to get up and move.
Correct. My class is at 12:10, and after lunch for some of them.
Right. And it's that little bit of the dip of the day for them that way too.
Get them mixed up. They need to walk around a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, that's great. The other thing I'm thinking about in terms of re-energizing at the what feels like kind of a slow part of the year, or the honeymoon is over. This is also the part of the year where I'm much more likely to grab hold of the teachable moment, right?
Yes.
Like our friend Daryl DeBoer says, plan tight so you can hang loose,
Yep.
right? And I love that. Thank you for that wisdom, Daryl. But that idea, like I've got a clear lesson plan, so that way I know when I can let go of it for a little while, and I'll pick it back up later.
And you know the students well enough to do it at this point.
Yes, like I can't do that in the first 2 weeks of the semester, right?
No.
But now we've spent enough time together, I know. And I had that a couple times in a couple different courses where something came up in class, the students asked a question. It wasn't really the lesson plan of the day. Sometimes it was a topic completely unrelated to the lesson plan of the day, but it's worth it to help them understand some of this. So I can give you an example from my geography class. I teach world regional geography, and we were talking today in class, just today, about Australia and New Zealand was on the agenda. And we were talking about how Australia is a really big country with a relatively small population, and actually like half the population lives in just 3 cities.
Oh, wow.
Right? Like 10
I don't
million
think I realized
people.
that.
Yeah, like Sydney and Melbourne and Brisbane, and like half the population lives in those 3 cities. And they were like, well, that's just crazy. I was like, well, it's not that different from the United States, really. Right?
How we're spread out.
And then a student just asked the question in class, like, well, why is that? Like half the United States just lives in big cities and half live in rural. And I said, this is an interesting question. Let's run down this path for a little while. And so we just talked a little bit about, like, what are the difference between folks who are more likely to live in a more rural area versus folks who are more likely to live in a more urban area? And not getting real political about it or anything, but just to like notice that there are different ways of being. And if you are going to live in an urban area, there are certain ways of being that you have to be living in a place with a whole lot of people. And you're probably going to be a little more interdependent. And if you're going to live in a more rural area, you're probably going to be a little more independent. And, that plays out in a whole lot of different ways. The ways you think about politics, and the ways you think about economics, and the ways you think, like, all kinds of different ways. Oh, well, we just had a really productive conversation that was not on my lesson plan.
Right.
But it was really engaging, and the students were all in on it.
Right. And I think you can also have conversations that are a little bit harder at this point in the semester. Like we said, because you know them. I kind of save some of my modules that are a little bit trickier.
Sure.
Till we just started a module on culturally relevant practices.
Oh,
and so
we,
one of our standards in InTASK standards that we teach all our students deals with learner differences and the responsibilities teachers have to make learning accessible across those differences to our students. And so in order to set that up well, I always feel like I need to have students realize how they're seeing the world through a cultural lens, right? So we do kind of a series of videos. We do a little bit of a free write on our levels of culture, which is in one of our books that we read, and talks about levels of culture, so that we can see what am I thinking of as normal that really is intensely cultural. And
because the things I don't even question, it's just the lens I see the world through.
Correct.
Oh, but someone else might see it very differently because of their cultural lens.
And yesterday, one of my students who is not Dutch and not Reformed gave that as an example.
Ooh, yeah. Oh, and
here at Dort.
The assumptions that a bunch of people make.
Correct. And how he could see things that we, and I'm speaking we because I am part of that culture.
Sure.
Right? That majority culture here. Don't see.
Yeah.
The ways that we include it all over all the time and see things through that lens when outsiders clearly see it in a different outsiders, right? In quotes. We try to be very hospitably Reformed here at Dort, and I think we've gotten better at it.
I would definitely agree with that too.
But there are still remnants of that.
Sure. And there is kind of a culture blindness that you have. It's like the fish doesn't know he's swimming in water because the water is just wet, right?
Yep.
Right.
And so those interesting, more provocative topics, I think, are also, this is a good time of the year to get attention and to dive into those.
For sure.
I think as well.
Oh, I'm really glad to hear that you're leaning into those more challenging topics. When I taught our elementary science methods class, I often would do that too. We would save like potentially controversial topics till like the last third of the course or something like that, because you got to know students well enough, and by that point they're more prepared to engage in some of those things too. Oh, it's so interesting.
What about, can you think of any time in like year K-12 experience as a teacher where you've had some challenging student behaviors that you've had to deal with sort of as they get more familiar with you? Push your buttons. I just was talking to a new teacher not very long ago, who is teaching in middle school and is finding that some of those middle schoolers are pushing the boundaries a bit, right? So asking to use the bathroom 4 times in a class period, or getting up and blowing their noses very loudly at the back of the room multiple times.
This would never happen.
Period.
What are you speaking
of?
And
getting a drink. And I mean, things that are not disruptive in and of themselves, but are clearly... they are clearly manipulating,
trying to get this teacher's goat, or push some buttons. Right?
See where we can go. And so in class the other day, I told my students, how would you respond to this? And I let them brainstorm a little bit.
What did they say?
And then they had some good ideas. They said, one of them had talked about kind of consequences and like incentives, which I thought was very. I mean, we had just studied behaviorism right at the beginning of the year, so they're thinking about that kind of stuff. And one of them got at where I was kind of going, which was to have a sense of humor about it, right, and to not ignore it.
No, it has to be addressed.
It does.
Right? If there's misbehavior that is contrary to the learning environment.
But what I said to students is, and to this teacher is, you do not want to fight these students for the whole year. It's exhausting.
No, that's right.
So,
for sure.
So fighting them on this or coming down hard on it, right? It's a hard amount of energy to spend.
And
on
also,
things like it's exhausting.
I see them in that because I know, like my first year of teaching, I was way too easy on the students, right? Because I wanted them to like me. I still want my students to like me, right? But then year 2, you like overcorrect, and so I was like cracking down, and like that was unpleasant for me too because it's not authentic to who I am. And so I love your response of trying to like have a sense of humor about it, but still have high expectations, right? And I think that's a fine balance to walk as teachers.
Like if a student wants to trip and lay on the floor in my classroom, I'm going to say it's really hard to learn from down there.
Right. Yeah. Oh, that's such a good frame.
You know, or 4 times in one class period to go to the bathroom. Do I need to call your mom? Are you okay?
Right. I'm fine. No. Right. No, but those kinds of situations, right? Like we as the kids become more comfortable with us, there's actually an opportunity, I think, that we have then too. But we have to be willing to take that, right? And I think back to my years teaching middle school, one of the most challenging students that I ever taught, he ended up being one of my favorite students once I actually got to know him. And the problem I realized for myself, I was holding him at arm's length at first because that sounds terrible. I didn't like him.
Well, and when they challenge you, you have to tell yourself, this is not about me.
Right.
And you have to respond not out of your annoyance, but every day try to talk to them about something else that's not school related. Forget the way they pushed your buttons, right?
And let every day be a new day, a new opportunity to connect, a new opportunity to start over. That sounds real easy. It's hard in practice. I also fully recognize that.
It is.
But I think those are the kinds of places where you have the opportunity to capitalize on that connection with students. So I'm glad you brought that for your students too. That's a great case study for them to think through.
And that's another
how
thing, right?
Respond.
Like how can you bring in real life scenarios, real life things for students.
Well, it comes back to that idea of, I think the curriculum has to be meaningful and accessible for the students. And when we're making it meaningful and accessible, that's when it starts to come to life for them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Well, thanks. Thanks for sharing.
No, this is great. Friends, we know your time is valuable, and we want to thank you for joining us today for another hallway conversation. Whether it's this day, this week, this month, or this year, we do hope that the Lord gives you what you stand in need of. We want to thank you for the good, God-delighting work that you're doing in your schools and communities. And as you go into this week, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face towards you and give you his peace, and give you his peace, and give you his peace. Amen. Hope you have a good week, everyone.
Take care.
Hallway Conversations was originally dreamed up by Matt Beamers and Dave Mulder during one of their actual Hallway Conversations. It's created and produced by Abby DeGroat and Dave Mulder. Our music is by Ethan Mulder. Hallway Conversations is generously supported by the Center for the Advancement of Christian Education at Dordt University. You can find out more about the good work CASE is doing at cace.org. Thanks for listening, friends. Oh, that was so weird. Oh, that was good.
It was good and weird.
Good conversation?
Yeah, I thought so.
I like it.
Yeah.
We'll see what people say.
Okay.